Hello and welcome to another episode of Design and Style. I am one of your co-hosts, Dixie with Dixie Willard Design. And with me, as always, is the beautiful, effervescent
Rachel Moriarty with that's going to be my new
I love
effervescent thing.
It's perfect.
Rachel Moriarty with Rachel Moriarty Interiors. And today we are uber excited. We're always excited, but today's uber excited.
Uber excited, yeah.
Because we are excited to introduce to our community our PR. What is your actual title? Is it a consultant?
I'm your fairy godmother.
You really are our fairy.
That's my actual title. I guess I'm a consultant. Mm-hmm.
What do you call? What is the title though? Is it?
I'm a PR manager, publicist,
PR manager.
I answer to a lot of things. So.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we are so excited because I think, in our group, we focus on visibility.
Yep.
And so we decided after working with you that we were going to go visibility. We're calling it Visibility 2.0. And because, there's visibility, but when we got to work with you, you really put a delineation on there's visibility and there's PR. And
right.
They really are two different things. And
they really are.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So why don't you tell us about you and your business really quickly, introduce yourself, and then we can get into the meat potatoes.
Sure. Well, my business is Wildflower Promotions and Media Management, and I do PR, I do marketing, outreach, and I do event creation. So a little bit of everything. I've been full-time in my business since June. That was my side hustle for a year prior to that. And I've spent 25 years in the nonprofit sector, and every job I had a PR component to it, as well as fundraising, event planning, that whole gamut. When you're in the nonprofit sector, there's not as many employees, so you have to wear multiple hats. So people kind of wonder, well, how'd you get all of that under one roof? That's how. I was usually a one-stop shop. So that's my story. So I've been doing this for over 25 years.
So speaking of events, we met you at our visibility conference, which is our first ever event. So we're happy to have an event person partnering with us because I'm sure there's going to be more.
Yeah. Right? By the way, I have a few things to talk to you about later.
Oh. That was for you, I believe, Rachel.
Was that me or was that Mindy?
It's for both of you.
Oh, all right. Cool. I'm addicted to in real life, to hashtag IRL.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So one of the things that you really introduced us to is something you call a one-pager. I don't know if that's an industry term or if that's a real thing. But let's talk about that because we really, most of our community are designers just like Dixie and I. We are solo firms, solo or small, maybe or maybe VA, maybe a design assistant, but not big firms. And we are wearing all the hats as well.
Yep.
So some people are, I remember our coach, Samantha Parker, telling us, very early on, you're going to need a PR person before you think you do, and it was like, yeah, kick the can down the road. And then all of a sudden we were like, oh, we needed one like 2 weeks ago, we called you very frantic. Right. So, just to say to other designers, you will need a PR person before you think you do, whether you think you do or not. And I wish I would have, heeded that warning and known how to prepare to work with you more effectively so we could just go,
running.
So we, of course, like everything else, Dixie and I do, we jump in with both feet and then figure it out. And,
don't we all do that?
Yes,
exactly. The role of being an entrepreneur.
So,
and I think it probably makes sense to start by explaining the difference.
Yes.
Before we talk about the one pager, because visibility and PR are so different. I do PR for a living, yet when it comes to visibility, me personally, I don't do it. So I know firsthand what the difference really is. You can be visible all you want online. If you're trying to do anything in real life, if you're trying to build a community, if you're trying to reach a certain industry like you guys are doing, you really want a person on your team who can draft press releases, send them to the media, pitch you to your local daytime talk shows, pitch you to other podcasts. You guys are great. You have people coming to you to be on your podcast, but there are people who don't have time to do the research, to invite the guests. I do that for them. I am managing their podcast guest list and their podcast schedule to be guests. So that's really the difference. You, of course, want to be visible so people get to know you. You have your brand. You're putting that out there. But true public relations is connecting to the media. And what I really try and do is make sure, Rachel, you're in San Diego. Dixie, you're in Maryland.
No,
Tennessee.
I know where you are. It's because I was just talking about somebody from Maryland. I know where you are. I'm in Tennessee. You're in Tennessee. But you're on different sides of the country, and you both have your own individual media outlets.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Even though you're one business, you still want to connect with your local communities. And so that's part of what I'm doing, trying to make sure that your local media knows who you are, that you can start to build up your communities in real life and get that message out there. So that's really the difference between being visible and having someone managing your public relations.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think for interior designers, it's so important for us. Everybody's trying to build an online presence, but I think just as Dixie has proven when she moved to, Maryville. That's why. I almost said Maryland myself. Maryville, not knowing a soul and building her business from scratch in her local community. I'm sort of doing things backwards because I was doing e-design. I started as an e-designer, virtual designer, online designer. So I was going for that online presence. But then I was like, I really like working hands-on. So now I'm kind of working backwards and back into my local community. But most normal people start in their local. And I think that is one of the things. There's so many opportunities. I see people, other designers or whatever, giving tips and stuff in, local publications or on our local news or something like that. And I'm like, I could
that could be you.
Like,
exactly.
How do we do that? And I have no idea. And I can be visible, but I can't pitch myself. That is one thing that I cannot do. There's no way.
Right.
Yeah.
I have the same problem pitching myself. It's a challenge for me to be able to do that. It's much easier to pitch someone else.
Yeah.
That's just the way it works. Another important thing to think about, when we met, it was only I think a week before the visibility conference. And that's really not even enough time. I sent out some press releases and it got some hits, but if you're going to have someone help you with your public relations and you've got an event coming up or you want to start planning an event, those seeds need to start planting weeks ahead of time, not the week before. Right. So I want to encourage people that are listening that if you think you're going to need some help, do it sooner than later.
At least run it past you to, see if there's like a good timeline or something like that,
Absolutely.
One of the things I'll tell you that has been invaluable, I think, about having you as a partner is when Dixie and I get into kind of realms that are new to us because we're interior designers, but now we have the Design+Style brand,
right?
Which is a completely different market, and and so we kind of get ourselves into these situations, and we're like, what are we doing? Where if it was as an interior designer, we would feel we've been doing that since 2005 or whatever, so that we're very comfortable in that. But it's just great. I don't think people realize the value of just having someone to call up and say, hey, we've got this next thing, and what do we do? And just talk it through. And you're just so calm because you're not in it.
Right.
You know what I mean? You're just like you're in it because we've pulled you in, but you're one away, and you kind of keep a level head about it. And we kind of come to you sounding like howler monkeys sometimes, like.
I'm a brand manager in essence, because I want to make sure that whatever you're going to be doing fits with your brand. Traditional public relations is spin control.
Yes.
And I've shared publicly some recent nightmares that I've been dealing with.
You do the spin control.
Sorry. I don't know if it's starting to rain or what is happening. But especially if you have events in real life, if you are meeting with your community, if you're having events, you want to have a PR person in case something goes wrong. You need to, I always refer to myself as an apocalypse planner, even though I'm not a prepper here in my house. But for my clients, I'm the apocalypse planner. I want to make sure that if you're going to have an event, for example, a mud run, that there's going to be mud.
Right.
And if there's a drought, then I'm going to make sure to bring to your attention that, hey, we're dealing with a drought. What's the backup plan? That's just an example. But traditional PR used to be, you'd work for a big firm and you were the spin control. If something went wrong, the PR person was out there spinning it to make it, a positive in the, there's no such thing as bad PR. That's true to an extent.
Right. Right. So one of the first things we talked about when we all started working together is this one pager that I was referencing.
Yes.
And I just got mine done for my Rachel Moriarty brand, and I can't believe I never had one before.
Right. So
let's talk about the elements.
Yeah. So here's kind of like a do-it-yourself kind of a guide to PR. If you can't at this point bring someone on with my skill set, there are a couple of items that you should have ready to go. Your media kit, that, it's all encompassing. You need to have a media kit. If you are planning on working with other brands, looking for sponsors, wanting to be a guest speaker, whatever it is, you need to have your media kit. And first and foremost, you should have your one pager, really a one sheet of who you are. It's kind of like your modern day resume, except it should have a photo. It should have your accomplishments. It should have any publications you've been in, any awards. It's something that you can quickly email off to someone to say, this is who I am in a snapshot.
So that when people say, hey, can you send me your bio? You don't have that moment of panic that I see happening. I'm guilty of it quite often.
I'm guilty too, and I have my own one sheet.
But you know, that moment of panic.
In one sheet. Yeah. And that's another piece to the PR. Your bio is not necessarily the same as your one sheet.
Right.
Your bio is a very short, succinct few sentences about your background, who you are, where you came from, what you do. Mm-hmm. Your one sheet really gives you that in-depth look of what you've accomplished. Mm-hmm. And, links to all your social media.
Yes.
It talks about numbers of followers. It really gives a more, especially for online businesses, really gives, you've got your podcast. You're going to want to highlight that on your one sheet and talk about your podcast and how many downloads, how many guests you've had, how many episodes, all that good stuff. That all goes on a one sheet.
Perfect. I'm taking notes.
I know.
Well, you're going to send me your one sheet so
yes.
you can take a look at it.
Yes, exactly. Something came up. I think that also the reason we wanted to introduce you to our community is because I think we're uniquely positioned to get those sponsorships,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because all of us are design bloggers, and not a lot of us are leveraging the fact that we're design bloggers. And we can, there's all these, I think a lot of people are just missing opportunities for these different income streams. They're depending on the one-on-one design projects. And, it's cyclical, right?
Sure.
Tax time, you're going to go down. Big, holidays, you go down. If you miss anything, if you hit Thanksgiving and you haven't done all these makeovers, then, you're dead until beginning of the year sort of thing, unless you've got some long-term project.
Right.
But so there's other ways that you could be pitching, having somebody pitch you to your local news to give holiday tips and, all that stuff that will set you up for new clients in the new year or something like that.
Exactly. Another example, I'm working with a hair salon here locally. They hired me for a one-off. It's their 4-year anniversary. So for the month of November, I came up with a promotional plan of 30 days of giveaways, and they're going to be giving different gift certificates to customers all via social media, but they're also going to make financial contributions each week to 4 different nonprofits in the Chattanooga area. And so and so I already sent out a release, and I'm pitching them to the local media just to get them some additional exposure. But absolutely, designers can be giving tips for decorating. I can also, work with, I think I mentioned to you, I worked in senior housing for 7 years, and I had to work with stagers because the clients that I was working with typically had a home to sell. So there's ways that I can help you come up with collaborations. And partnerships, not even just sponsorships, but partnerships, especially coming from the nonprofit world. I've raised a lot of money, and I have had to figure out ways to make things happen without a budget. And so my ability to kind of see out of the box and come up with some unique ideas for collaborations is something that I'm proud to say I'm able to do.
Well, that was actually one of the reasons why we decided to go with you, because we also wanted somebody that wasn't in our industry, actually, because I feel like you have a unique way of seeing what we do, where some of the and not to diss anybody, but I feel like sometimes industry PR can be more focused on Architectural Digest and, stuff where that's not where we want to be. And that's, you know what I mean? And sometimes it's like, oh, well, you're not ready for us sort of thing. And so we thought we really want somebody that we can resonate with and who's out of the box, who knows smaller businesses.
Well, who understands the online world.
Yes.
Your brand is online, and that is probably very out of the box in your industry as it is. So, that's absolutely. And if you do have a lot of other designers who are blogging or who have podcasts, they're probably not taking advantage of some of the partnerships, sponsorships, collaborations that could be out there for them.
Yeah, no, we know they're not. That's why we definitely wanted to get the ball rolling on this visibility 2.0.
Oh, the sun is coming back.
I know, I just saw like your face light up. I'm like, oh.
Sorry, it got so dark as soon as you hit record. I thought a storm was just coming out.
That's perfectly symmetrical with what just started happening here, because it started pouring.
There you go.
Did it? How funny.
Yeah.
So the next thing is press release.
Okay. Let's talk
but
about
I want to even know if we need to talk about a media list. What comes first, the media list or the press release?
Well, it depends. Chicken before egg. It really depends. It really depends. So I will sometimes do the release first, because I'll figure out the niche that I need to then focus on to put together my media list, because you don't always want to send to the same people. It really, and especially for you in your industry, I would think that you're probably anybody that's going to be pitching. And we've talked about industry magazines and things like that. It's going to be very specific to the topic. So it really depends. However, if you want to start compiling a media list, the first thing I would do for a do-it-yourself is look at your local TV stations, look at your local newspapers, your local radio. Go to their websites, go to the contact us page, and just jot down, create a spreadsheet with all the email addresses for the newsrooms. You know, it's usually news at blah, blah, blah. Because that's the easiest way to start with a kind of a generic media list. Then if there are, in those newspapers, if there are sections that you read that you know focus on design, try and get some of the contacts, you know, the emails for the writers of those sections, the journalists, so that you can pitch to them individually. But to just do like a general, you know, you're launching, my cat is playing the piano. I don't know if you heard that. He just walked across the keys. If you're going to have a meetup, you're doing something in real life and you just want to kind of get it out there, sending it to all of your local media generically is probably sufficient, and you might get a couple of hits on that. It really depends on what you're doing. More importantly is the press release itself. And I really, you know, doing your own press release is really challenging because, again, you're promoting yourself, and we tend to have a hard time doing that.
Well, and I was working on trying to do one for the visibility conference before you came along, and it was a night. I mean, I had template after template after template that I looked at, and I was like, okay, I know how to do this. It was no, I didn't know how to do this. And it was so funny because Mindy came in, she's like, what do I need to know? I gave it to her, and boom, I have a press release that it was night and day, the difference between, and this is, it's kind of like when our clients talk to us about designing their home. They struggle with it big time, and we're like, oh, I got this.
Exactly. It's just something that, you know, I'm used to. But here are a couple of pointers. One, it always has to be in the third person. Flat out. The first thing you need to know, do not write a press release with I, we, that's it. You put I in there or my business and you're done. And you can Google templates. You can Google Associated Press guidelines, and you'll make yourself sick to your stomach. Trying to figure it all out. Grammarly, you know, that app Grammarly that can do your grammar check. If you're going to write a press release, get Grammarly, please, and have it automatically check your grammar. But a press release really needs to have a couple of key components. You've got to have a headline that's going to grab attention. You need to have the body of your release. I always say you want to have a quote in there from your sponsor, the partner that you're collaborating with, or even if it's from you, even if you're writing your own press release. And again, when you're doing it yourself, that's where you get hung up, because now you're writing about you in the third person and then have to figure out how to put a quote in there.
Yeah.
And quoting yourself, exactly, isn't always necessarily easy to do. And then you want to make sure that your contact information is in there. And having it in there in a format where the media can just quickly copy and paste. So here's the thing about a press release. When I send out a press release, I copy and paste all the text into the body of the email. I also attach a PDF version and the Word document version. This way, it makes it super easy for any of the media contacts to just take it and run with it. They don't have to retype anything. They have the document right there if they want to edit it, if they want to pull from it. They've got every possible version. And then I will always attach the logo or photos for the people that I'm talking about. And so I'm happy to share a couple of sample press releases if anybody wants me to send them one. Again, you can just Google a press release and you'll get a million samples online.
Oh, yeah, you will.
Yeah.
And if you're like me and you like to research things before you do them, you will go through all million of them and go, holy crap, what have I got?
And then if you think about how much money you just lost by spending all of those hours researching versus just paying me an hour of my time to bang it out for you, it really is a big difference. That being said, people want to try and do it on their own. I get it. I totally do. The other important thing to think about with press releases, or at least to prepare yourself for the press release, is that just because you write it doesn't mean it's going to get a hit anywhere.
Yeah.
Right. It's kind of like the if you build it, they will come myth that we all know is not true. It's the same thing with a press release. Just because you write it and distribute does not mean it's going to get picked up anywhere. You don't know what else is going on in the world. You may think that what you're doing sounds phenomenal. Why wouldn't everybody want to know about the newest color that just came out from whomever, or that this partnership is coming to fruition for you? And then the president goes and sends out a tweet, and the news media is looking at everything else. And, there goes your press release, depending on what time you hit send versus what time something else in the world happened. So, you have to go in with the expectation of nothing is going to happen from this. And a press release should not just be a one-time thing. You got to follow up on it. And that's where having your media list is helpful. You want to know who you should be talking to, who you can follow up with, make sure it was received, and see what they're going to be able to do or not do with it.
So what does the follow-up look like? If you're doing the follow-up yourself, what do you need to be?
Well, a lot of times I'll make a phone call. Sometimes I'll follow up with just an email. Can you verify that you got this? You're not going to get them to commit. No one's going to send you an email and commit to, we received it and we're going to publish something about it next Tuesday at 3:00. Check out our website then. With local media or media outlets that I work with more frequently, even if they're not local here in Chattanooga, I build that relationship. I can pick up the phone ahead of time and call. I can call the writer of a certain
publication.
Thank you. Publication or column was the word I was trying to come up with, in the paper, and say, hey, I'm going to be sending this your way. So it's all about relationship building. It's visibility, but on a different level.
Thank God we have Mindy. I just was thinking of when you were like, follow up and pick up the phone. I was like, oh, no. Nope. Not happening.
Yeah. So I'm a VA, PR. There's probably some more initials I can come up with.
We can throw
You're a slasher. Yeah. Slash this, slash that.
Slash miracle worker,
slash
fairy godmother. Yeah.
Exactly.
Celebrity stalker. Oh, no. So.
Oh my gosh. What were you going to say, Dixie? Were you going to say something?
Probably. I don't know.
Oh, it just left. It just left. So we are doing a Visibility 2.0 challenge in our Facebook community group.
Yep.
So, we are going to start talking about this one pager and get people, start thinking about this stuff. You have a product coming out. Is it out or is it coming out? Like a DIY media kit?
It's not out per se yet. It's ready. I just don't have my landing page and stuff set up to do anything with it.
Okay.
Because
yeah. Oh, I
get myself is not something I'm good at doing.
We get it.
Yep.
And just for people that are in our group and that, listen to our podcast, if they've been following us, they have definitely seen proof in the pudding. They've seen a ramping up since we started working with you, starting from our visibility conference to, we've had a couple of events and partnerships and, so really once you start taking yourself and your brand seriously and, make that step to connect with a PR person, things happen too. Right. When you start doing the one sheet, I was like, oh, okay. Like when I start pulling away from myself and look at myself as that brand, it's different and it's so hard for us to do ourselves. It really is. But I really think this is important for our community. There's definitely opportunities being missed left and right. And I think that's why we definitely wanted to have you on and to run this challenge. And so our challenge is we're going to be going over, some of the points that we talked about during this week in our group.
Yep.
And we have a little prize, right, Dix, at the end of it?
Yep. Yeah, I had that panicked look. No, we do. I believe are going to have a prize in the form of a free 30-minute call with Mindy to get her help on a press release.
Yep.
That's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
So what do they need to do to be able to be eligible for that free call?
So if they want help with a press release, or for me to write a press release, because I couldn't probably bang one out in a half an hour if absolutely needed, here's what I would love to see. I would love to see your community come up with their one sheets, come up with a short media list of who they would want to target, and come up with a headline or the story that they want pitched. So whether it's connecting you to your local community, you know, are you, as a designer, are you having meetups and you want your local community to know? Well, if you come to me, if you submit, or to you guys, and then you choose your winner, however you want to do it, your one sheet and your media list, and they want help with a press release, I can help you do the press release, and then you can distribute it to your local media contacts. So I would think that everyone should put these key pieces together, and then you select a winner, and I can help either write it or review one that you've written, which may even be the better route, because then I can kind of red pen it like a teacher would and say, going forward, you know, these are the things you don't want to do.
Right.
So I'm totally flexible.
That'll be awesome. So basically a half an hour of time, however it needs to be used.
Exactly.
Right?
Yep.
So that's awesome.
Yep.
And then we're hoping that you're going to get your DIY media kit.
I may have a solution for you. I'll tell you about it in a minute.
Oh.
I have it ready to go. It's a 10-page workbook telling you the different components of a press release and how to put together your kind of the things that I ran through, but obviously in a little more detail. And there's a sample press release in there and other information.
Perfect.
All right.
Sounds perfect. Yes. Thank you so much, Mindy. We appreciate you taking the time to be with us on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh, we're so excited.
I'm so excited working with you guys.
And see who the winner is.
Yeah. It's going to be a great week. So I am looking forward to it. Anything else you need, by all means, let me know.
Thanks, Mindy.
All right. Bye.
This podcast was made possible in part through the support of our preferred partners, like the Design Network. The Design Network offers one of the most powerful to-the-trade e-commerce programs in the furniture industry, combining the top brands in furniture, the best prices, and unparalleled logistics all in one place. Go to www.thedesignnetwork.com to join the Design Network's Trade Direct program, create your designer profile, connect with new clients, and start shopping today.